we have in studio Mr. Nelson Cudjoe Kuagbedzi, who is the head of finance at Merban Capital. He's a tax practitioner, a financial analyst, and we also have Mr. Stephen Quarshie, also a financial analyst with us, who are going to give us detailed analysis on all these happenings. But I want to start with Mr. Nelson. Last Thursday, the finance minister read the budget. We would like to know, how do you see the budget itself? Does it reflect the true happenings in the economy? Do you see a life in it?
Okay, thank you very much, my brother. Good morning to you and good morning to our viewers and listeners. Yes, it is true. On Thursday, the finance minister presented the mid-year budget review. And for me, there were two significant events that marked the presentation. The first one has to do with the walkout that was staged by the minority. You know, budget presentation or mid-year budget presentation are accountability forums where the finance minister comes to give an account of how the public purse has been utilized over the period. And so it is only prudent and advisable that the minority will stay in the chamber, listen to the presentation, because in any case, they have to go back to their constituencies with the accountability that the finance minister has brought to the house. But they boycotted the presentation. To me, it wasn't the best. I mean, the issue that they raised regarding the boycott has to do with the Ablekumanov incidents. And to them, to the extent that the president has not commented or issued a statement to that effect, that actually warranted the walkout. I think that was actually overblown, and that will not deepen and promote our parliamentary democracy. The second significant event to me has to do with the time that the finance minister used to present the mid-year review. Normally, mid-year reviews are normally short. They are not like the normal end-of-year budget that takes so long a time. But I think the finance minister took his time to eloquently present the review to us. And for me, the presentation actually reflects the happenings within the economy. As an analyst, I can only compare what was in the past and what is actually happening today. And I'll give reasons to what actually led us to where we are today. Now, when you look at most of the indicators that he mentioned, inflation at the end of December was 23.8%. And that has moderated to 13.7% at the end of June 2025. If you look at our reserve has also shot up by about some 2.1 billion Ghana cedis, from about 8.9 billion to a little over 11 billion dollars, $8.9 billion to about a little over 11 billion, dollars, which actually represents about 5 months or 4.7 months of import cover. The minimum is normally 3 months of import cover. What it technically means is that if there should be anything that goes wrong, at least we should be able to import into the country minimum for 3 months. Then another indicator that was worth talking about is the stability of the cedi. You realize that the last time I came here, I enumerated 4 economic policies that actually affect a country. We have the fiscal policy, macroeconomic policy, exchange rate policy, and structural policy. And when you're able to manage your exchange rate policy very well, it affects the other policies. You rightly mentioned that it is as a result of the stability of the cedi that actually accounted for the reduction in our debt stock. And it is true. When a country registers budget deficit, there are 2 main ways of financing the deficit. You either borrow internally or you borrow externally. Now, when you borrow externally, the external borrowing will be denominated in, foreign currency. And so when we decide to go and borrow in dollars, it means that the money that will come into the country will be in the form of dollars. Also, we'll have an external component of the debt. Now, take for instance, if today the cedi is trading at 10 Ghana cedis, then you go and borrow in dollars, let's say 100. So 100 times 10, that will give you 1,000 cedis. So in your books, we just had the public financial management people trying to educate us. So when you are preparing your account, you are going to recognize 1,000 Ghana cedis as a debt, as a payable in your book. Now imagine that the cedi to the dollar shot up from 10 Ghana cedis to 15 Ghana cedis. It means that you need more cedis in order to pay your external debt. Yeah. And so your debt now in your book will be 1,500 Ghana cedis instead of what? The 1,000 cedis. And so when a country arrives at managing its currency very well, what it means is that it impacts positively on the external component of its debt. In fact, that was the reason why we saw that the debt actually reduced from 726 billion Ghana cedis to about 613 billion Ghana cedis as a result of the stability of the cedi that actually reduced the external component of the debt. And then finally, when we talk about our GDP growth rate, our economy has grew significantly. First quarter, the economy grew by 5.3%. That was largely driven by agriculture. Agric actually grew by 6.6%. And so generally, I mentioned inflation already. So you realize that most of the macro indicators that we have, the government inherited from the previous administration, they are actually doing well. Now, the finance minister also mentioned list of certain items that the prices have reduced.
Yes.
Well, when I think some market women were saying there was a divided opinion as to whether it is true or it is not true. But if you look at it generally, for the very first time, we had trade unions like TUC, like GUTA, calling on their members to reduce prices. That actually tells you that the economy is actually being managed prudently.
Okay.
The last time I came here, I made mention of the fact that government is not actually spending.
Yeah.
However, from the indication that was, presented to us, a lot of expenditure. The only side of the expenditure that is really not coming forth is expenditure that will actually provoke economic activity. For instance, paying of contractors. You see, every economy where the construction sector is booming, it creates a lot of jobs. And it also grows the economy. Because when you pay 2 million or 3 million Ghana cedis to a contractor, you expect the contractor to actually go and buy iron rod.
Yeah.
The contractor will go and buy cement. The contractor will go and buy water. The contractor will need laborers. So it provokes some level of economic activity.
Sure.
And so I think that we have seen for the very first time in recent years that an economy is being managed prudently. The only thing we hope is that it will continue in the same dimension so as to give some relief to we individuals and also businesses alike.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nelson, for this analysis on the media budget review. Mr. Quarshie, did it prioritize what you were expecting to be prioritized in the media budget review? What you got hold of? Do you think the priority was given to what it was supposed to be given to?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think largely the government is following its plan. Okay. When they read the first budgets, they indicated that they want to stabilize the economy, so that businesses and other aspects of the private sector would also grow. So I think they are on the same path. Okay. And Mr. Nelson has actually elaborated on the statistics, the numbers. These numbers are so favorable. If you compare it against even 2020 first quarter or first half, you realize that these numbers are greatly, improved. Now, in terms of, sector, for me, I focus on the agriculture sector. Not for anything, but because the agriculture is the main driver of our economy. And he rightly said, our economy grew to 5.3%. And agriculture is the great driver. Now, if you have agriculture being the great driver, like he said, the minister spoke a lot in parliament. He did so well. I think for the first time, we have, a finance minister that is speaking to, the realities on the ground. But in mentioning agriculture, he mentioned it 7 times in his speech.
7 times?
Only 7 times.
So many you were monitoring?
I was monitoring because my eyes is in fact, I want the agriculture or the finance minister actually to be liaising with the agriculture minister so well that, when he's speaking, we should have a sense of what agriculture and what he's saying. So everything is fine on the macro level. I love what is going on. And I want that the focus on agriculture should be increased, because where the improvement is coming, that is where we need to master. Agriculture is helping us. We need to put more effort into agriculture, and I think a lot of dynamics in our economy will begin to change.
Thank you very much for that. People or per the budget realize that the projected deficit as at 2025 main budget, which is around over 60 billion Ghana cedis. Now, when you check the calculation, it's around 40 billion Ghana cedis, just slightly above. And people are asking the question that, are we sure that we will not end up spending more than what we've projected for?
Okay. So that is a very good question. Let me give you some statistics here.
Okay.
It is true that every now and then, when budgets are presented, we normally overspend. We call it budget overrun. Yeah. We always overrun the budget. However, you realize that the line of action that this government is towing is all about fiscal discipline. It's all about fiscal prudence. Because the challenge that we have had in the past has to do with wastage in expenditure. You realize that, the expenditure is just all over the place. But this government is trying to streamline the expenditure to the extent that certain expenses that were paid in the past, this government has said going forward, those expenses will not be paid.
Okay.
For instance, government made it clear that they will not be paying a DSTV subscription for political office holders. Government also made it clear that there will not be fuel coupons for political office holders.
Exactly.
There was also, this directive that has to do with the traveling, that when you want to travel, you seek an approval, a prior written approval from the chief of staff. And so you realize that these are what is actually culminating into the reduction in the total expenditure. Now, you mentioned the fact that people are saying, well, we have seen it in the past. Are we not going to have another expenditure overrun?
Sure.
Well, from where I sit and from the analysis I have done and from the posture of this government, you realize that fiscal discipline, fiscal prudence is actually the bottom line of this government. However, in the past, for instance, in 2020, we overspent the budget by 14.7%. We had a budget overrun of 14.7%. In 2021, we had a budget overrun of 21.1%.
Okay.
In 2022, we had a budget overrun of 37.4%. Then in 2023, it came down to 19.4%. And finally, in 2024, the budget overrun came to 22.4%.
Okay.
Now you realize that the minister has not made any significant revision to expenditure. The only thing that shot up the expenditure has to do with the energy sector expenses, because the D-levy that was supposed to come earlier couldn't come at the right time. So government, through the consolidated fund, we're still trying to satisfy certain obligations within the energy sector. And so that may short up the expenditure a bit. However, the good news is that the government has revised its revenue target, I think from 227 to 229 as a result of the energy sector levies. So when we continue in this dimension, when we continue in this wavelength with the fiscal prudence that the government is doing, I don't think that we will overspend the budget. The only issue has to do with the fact that when you look at the typical government financial statement, we have compensation, we have expenditure on goods and services, we have payment of interest, then we have payment to other social intervention and other expenditure. Now, according to the minister, the wages, the compensation aspect of the expenditure, for instance, if you take salaries, they have identified over 15,000 ghost names on the payroll.
Exactly.
And also there were over 53,000 separated workers.
Yes.
When we say separated workers, we are looking at people who have resigned. People who have, they have separated themselves from government. They are no more on government payroll. But those people were taking salary to the tune of over 150 million Ghana cedis. Yes. So I think that we need to really look at that, because every now and then we continue to hear issues of ghost name,
Exactly.
and it's like they will say, "Oh, we have cleaned the ghost name," but the ghost names are they keep on coming.
That's the question. How come the ghost names are still
exactly?
there?
So the issue of ghost name has to do with the point of validation. Now, in the public sector, every month, I know for teachers, because I'm a teacher myself, I know for teachers, before your salary is paid, your secretary supervisor must validate you
before
for the month that you are at post, you are working. But I mean, it is human being that do the validation.
Exactly. So I think thank you for that. I want to get to that. In the budget, he made mention of risks to 2025 fiscal framework.
Yes.
And issues we are talking about is some of the risks.
Yes.
And when you look at the risks, he made mention of the fact that shortfall in customs revenue is a key risk, and the smuggling of marine gas oil. He also talked of mountain wage pressures and pricing and award of contracts in foreign currency. I think with this, even the Bank of Ghana brought a statement that we are going to deal with the issue of dollarization of the economy. So we just want to take your thoughts, Mr. Quarshie. This is the risk associated to our fiscal framework in 2025. What should the government do? What approach or what are we supposed to do to make sure that this 4 shortlisted risks will not affect us? At the end of the day, we might likely to have budget overrun or expenditure overrun as what we rightly experienced over the years.
Yeah, I think like he said, the discipline of government, in managing its expenditure is great. And this discipline must result into punishment for those who actually go beyond what the government has actually, put in place. If you look at the port revenue, port revenue was expected to reduce when our currency began to appreciate. Same way our public debt reduced. The same way our expected revenue through foreign currencies will also reduce.
So but it's not really...
That one is not a problem. But it's the human part. The human problem is what we need to look at and we need to punish. Recently, I saw in the news a DC, I think Menya Krobo, in his district, there are revenue collectors who have they've stolen government revenue. They are keeping it in their pockets, as though their pockets are the bank accounts of the district. What has happened? They have sacked some of the revenue collectors. Some of them have been transferred. I was sad when I heard that one has been transferred. Is it transferred to continue the bad ways in another district or what? So what we need, the government has actually given us his posture. His posture is expenditure discipline. Government is not ready to, overspend. That is why when he realized that the energy sector part is going to increase, he has quickly introduced the D-levy just to match it up. So if this is the posture, how to deal with this risk is to punish people. Let the government come clear. If you do this, if you price in this foreign currencies, these are the punishment we will give to you. In fact, they are regulators. The regulators need to actually be on their feet and actually stamp out these things so that these risks are not risks that are beyond management. These are risks that we can control. They are more of a human problem risk. And I believe that with this government posture, if you add strict punishment. Yes, and I think we'll actually bypass this kind of risk.
Thank you so much. Mr. Nelson, before you give a comment on this, I'd like to touch on the issue of VAT. The VAT reforms.
Yes.
People were expecting that COVID-19 levy, at least in this media budget review, at least it should go. But the government is telling that they are still preparing the bill to be presented to Parliament on September and by October. So in next year, we're not going to see this thing happening. I want to touch on what's the issue of our VAT reforms. What should government do?
All right. So I am a tax practitioner. I am a member of the Chartered Institute of Taxation Ghana. And these are things that we worked with on daily basis. Let me say that Ghana's VAT rate is one of the highest within the sub-region. And so when you go to any supermarket in Ghana and you buy anything, they'll give you the price of what you have bought. They will give you NHIL 2.5%. they will give you Get Fund 2.5%, and they will give you COVID-19 levy 1%. Then they will add those 2.5%, so it's 6%. They will add it to the price of the goods. Then on it, they will not come and compute VAT of 15%. So that is the cascading effect we are talking about, okay? Because it's in steps, cascading effect. Now, as I said, in taxation, there is something we call the Laffer effect. The Laffer effect is like this.
Okay.
So this is the tax rate, and this is the tax revenue, and it goes this way. The Laffer effect says that there is a maximum rate at which tax revenue would decline because of non-compliance. You understand?
Yeah.
And so when you draw the cone like this, at the middle here, that is the maximum rate at which you can charge. Anything beyond that maximum rate, your tax revenue will come down because it becomes too much for businesses to bear. And so once your tax rate is too much, people will not comply. So it is always prudent to make sure that the taxes that you are rolling out, they are business friendly.
Okay.
And so we all agree as practitioners that the current VAT regime in Ghana is distorted and it's not business friendly.
Okay.
And so during the budget that he presented on the 11th of March, he made mention of the fact that they are seeking technical assistance from the IMF in order to recalibrate and relook at the VAT regime. So he gave an update that what the COVID-19 levy will go.
Yeah.
I am of the view that Ghanaians generally, we don't have problem paying taxes. If you go out, you ask any Ghanaian, they will tell you they don't have problem paying taxes. The only challenge we have is how our tax revenue is used.
It's being used.
That is the challenge we have.
Okay.
So I am even of the view that why don't you convert the COVID levy into a free SHS levy?
Convert COVID
levy into a free SHS levy. So that whatever revenue you get from that free SHS levy, then you use it for the recurrent expenditure of the senior high schools and even capitation grant of basic schools.
Someone will also argue we have Get Fund.
Yes. So now Get Fund, the law that actually establishes Get Fund, the legislative intent behind Get Fund is infrastructural development across all schools, campuses. It's Get Fund is not supposed to go and buy rice and oil. You understand?
Yeah.
So that is my personal opinion.
Okay.
However, so if you convert it, you have a sustainable source of the recurrent expenditure of the senior high schools. So there is money there for their food. But one thing I want to commend this government for is that since they came to power, we haven't heard of any issue regarding feeding in any of the senior high schools.
Exactly.
That is something that the Minister of Education has perfectly handled. And so they said the COVID levy will go.
Okay.
They also made mention of the fact that they want to simplify the VAT in such a way that it will be business friendly.
Yeah.
Don't forget, the current regime, the levies, the Get Fund levy, all the three levies, they are not deductible. Now, in VAT, there is something we call output VAT and input VAT. Output VAT is the VAT you get when you sell. That is the output. The input VAT is the VAT you pay when you purchase.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, you need to net off the output VAT with the input VAT. The difference is what you pay to GRA. That is how it works.
I think I love this discussion, and we need to have a discussion on the taxation as a whole, so that Mr. Nelson will just teach us about taxation and how it works, so that viewers would appreciate. It's very well. On that note, I would like to bring Mr. Quarshie in. Our time is far gone. So just a quick one. What should the government do moving forward in terms of managing the economy? We know for the fact that there are lots of things in this budget you are supposed to talk about in terms of big push, in terms of 24-hour economy. But for the sake of it, we want to just limit ourselves to the few we've touched on. So what should government do moving forward?
I think a lot of things, okay? But let me just limit it to our discipline as a country. And one of the things that I'm actually looking at when all these macro indicators are improving is the cost of lending or cost of capital, okay, in the country. I know it is decreasing, but it is still on the high. Businesses or small and medium enterprises are borrowing from banks, I think on average 30% and above. He is at the capital side. It is too high for a business.
Okay.
So if inflation is dropping, cost of cost of borrowing from government, T-bill, is getting close to 10%.
Yeah.
It's at 10.55 or so. So if government borrowing from us is low, and we business people, we are going to borrow from the banks, and we are borrowing at a rate above 30%. It is too much.
Okay.
Government should look at it so that its main intention of stabilizing the economy for the private sector to take over will actually come to pass. Else, the whole thing will just be like nice statistics, beautiful statistics. But when we come down to the business people, when we come down to the farmers, people who are actually using capital to push the economy, we will still be there and we'll be crying.
We'll still be crying. Thank you very much for that. Mr. Nelson, before we go, what should government do?
Well, I think the economy is getting its weight now.
Yeah.
The government is stabilizing the economy. The economy is generally stable. However, you cannot equate stability to resilience. The fundamentals are still fragile. Just as you mentioned, you cannot develop an economy with a cost of capital more than, currently the average lending rate in Ghana is around 28%. That is too much. And so at the end of the Monetary Policy Committee of Bank of Ghana, that will end probably tomorrow, I expect the Bank of Ghana to cut down on its monetary policy rate by some 200 to 300 basis points in order to make lending a more cheaper. And also in order for the fiscal policy and the monetary policy to realign. Because now that the government is spending, we expect economy to grow. And so we need a cheaper source of funding to support businesses. So I want the Bank of Ghana to relook at the monetary policy rate, cut it by some 200 to 300 basis points in order to make lending cheaper for businesses.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nelson Cudjoe, who is the head of finance for Merban Capital, and also to Mr. Stephen Quarshie, who is a financial analyst. And this discussion has been so amazing, and I know you have really learned a lot when it comes to, especially VAT, when it comes to revenue and all aspects of the budget or running an economy. We'll be having more discussions about the media budget review, God willing, on Thursday on the business update segment. So continue to follow Clock TV, continue to watching Clock TV, and we will bring you amazing content all the time. I am Clement Yaaban Quaye, and I have been your host throughout this segment. Up next is the main discussion. Don't go anywhere. Stick and stay right here with us. Just after this short break, we'll come your way once again. Thank you.